Since 1959, the West End of Kingston, Jamaica has throbbed with a musical beat. A hypnotic sound of surging excitement and power. People hearing it became caught up in a frenzy and couldn't help moving to this pulsating, almost religious beat. This is ska.
Not many people can cha-cha-cha. Not everybody can do the twist, but everybody can do the ska. It's a new dance you can't resist. Ska, ska, ska. Jamaica ska. Now everybody can do the ska. It's a new dance that goes like this. Now, bow your head. Swing your arms. Shake your hip. Now do a dip. Ska, ska, ska. Jamaica ska. Ska, ska, ska. Do the ska. Now, bow your head. Swing your arms. Shake your hip. Now, do a dip. Ska, ska, ska. Jamaica ska. Ska, ska, ska. Jamaica ska.
Yes, this is ska, original and indigenous. The music of guitar, saxophone, trumpet, bass, and drums. These instruments are playing a monotonic, grassroots rhythm. This beat has taken Jamaica by storm and is swiftly spreading to other parts of the world. Now, what is the authentic style of this new dance craze? Let's take a look-see, shall we? There are 4 basic steps to the ska. The first is to keep the beat with the upper half of the body, bowing forward with a straight back and a slight bend in both knees. At the first bow, the arms extend to the sides. At the second bow, the arms cross in front. The body straightens up in between the change of arms from one position to the other. Basic step number 2 is practically the same as step number 1, but with the addition of a side step. First to the right by moving the right leg on the extension of the arms, then bringing up the left leg on the closing of the arms. Step number 3 is once again very similar, only the arms change. First right, then left, swing up and down in front of the body. finishing with the body beat when the right arm is in the air and then when the left arm is in the air. The arms are to be very relaxed and then swung on either side of the legs or between the legs. These basic steps may be done face to face or side by side with your partner. Finally, our fourth basic step. Now, this is perhaps the most energetic of all the basic ska steps. It's being done by two members of the band and is called rowing. A similar action to rowing a boat. It is either done facing your partner or beside your partner. The first move is to reach out with the arms, keeping both back and legs perfectly straight to form an angle at the waist. Then, a pullback, throwing backwards the upper half of the body from the knees up. Ska is as easy as that. How about us joining a regular ska session?
Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. I no thief, Sammy thief, me and kill him. I no thief, Sammy thief, me and kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, me and kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, me and kill him. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, oh. I no thief, Sammy thief, me and kill him. I no thief, Sammy thief, me and kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, me and kill him. But a grudgeful, yes, a grudgeful, me and kill him.
Here for a while. Say what you mean, think what you feel, 'cause I live and I live till I die. You are so wrong when you said I'm out of the race. But for the smart. your pale one-eyed jacks and will fail again and again. I said I know what you're thinking, silly boy, that I'm only here for a little while. But you can say what you feel, then you can think what you feel. 'Cause I live and live and live my life.
Take me across and wash all my troubles away. Like that lucky old sun, give me nothing to do but roll around heaven all day. So don't you hear me? Wash my troubles away. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Wash my troubles away. Oh yeah, all of my kids, and I sweat till I'm wrinkled and gray. Like that lucky old sun, give me nothing to do but roll around heaven all day. So don't you hear me? Wash my troubles away. Whoa, yeah.
Is that the first time I've been to your home? What is the first time you treated me so? Well, won't you tell me, baby, what wrong have I done you? Baby, what wrong have I done? Well, won't you tell me, baby, what wrong have I done you? Tell me, baby, what wrong have I done? Tell me, baby. But don't you hear I call you baby, 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 baby. Tell me, baby, what wrong have I done? know, you don't, you don't know, you don't know, you don't, you don't know, you don't know, you don't, you don't know, you don't know. For me. mind to love, you run for refuge and were rescued. That's a fact. Then why lie and try to fight the hand that feed you? Yes, the good you do lives after you. You could puff, puff and puff till you bust. It shall be rough, rough and tough on your side. So stop lying, don't try to buy the hand that feed you. For the good you do lives after you. that you can understand much better. Oh, it is a terrible feeling. Oh, you never know, 'cause you don't know what you need. It's that feeling that is oh so real. I don't know, but I really love you so. I'm gonna write you a letter so that you can understand much better. Oh, it is a terrible feeling. Oh, you never know, you don't know how you make me feel. It's that feeling that is oh so real. I don't know, but I really love you so. 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 Get him up, 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 get him up. But I really love you Stand up for everybody now, sit down. Stand up for everybody, sit down. Stand up, sit down. I like your mother. Stand up, I like your mother. Sit down. Stand up, sit down. Stand up for everybody now. Hey, 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 hey. Get him up, get him up, get him up. Get him up, 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 giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, pepper, pepper, pepper.
All right, Jamaica ska, and everybody stay right where you are. We go with Sammy Dead.
The lion says, I am king and I reign. The lion says, I am king in this range. No more kings must be in this backyard. The lion says, I am king and I reign. The elephant says, I am king, 'cause I'm strong. The giraffe says, I am king, 'cause my neck is long. There's no doubt that you are all wrong. The lion says, I am king, 'cause I'm double strong. I'm king of kings and lord of lords in this land. No more back talk from any of you, 'cause I'm king from the beginning. I was made king. The lion says, I am king and I reign. No more back talk from any of you, 'cause I'm king from the beginning. I was made king. Lion says, I am king and I reign. The lion says, I am king and I reign. King of kings and lord of lords, I reign in this land. King of kings and lord of lords, the lion says. King of kings and lord of lords, I reign in this land. Hey, 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 King of kings and lord of lords, lion says. King of kings. Yeah, King of kings. Jimmy Cliff and his big, big hit. Ska! Ska, 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 ska. Not many people can cha-cha-cha. Not everybody can do the twist, but everybody can do the ska. It's a new dance you can't resist. Ska, ska, ska. Young, get little black. We must begin to tell you. There's a world waiting for you.
Music, you know, it's the lifeblood. It's like lifeblood of the people. Like oil is to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, there's a breakthrough. You should know to be young.
Get little black.
Get up, stand up. Did you hear? Stand up for your right one more time.
No one in their wildest dreams would ever have thought that a small island like Jamaica has now been able to create a music that is part of the mainstream.
You stand up.
We need it, we must have it.
For your right. You get up, stand up.
Oh, you bring your man access to your villa. Yes, my son, I witness all of your clean on your pillar. You better watch your back before she turn into a killer.
The music, it's something like a gravity, like a magnet. It insists to hold on to you.
I've been touched by an angel.
Forward! March!
On August 5th, 1962, Princess Margaret finally pulled down the Union Jack after more than 300 years of British rule in Jamaica. The soundtrack to this newfound freedom was the first truly Jamaican music, the newly invented ska.
Because the time has come and we can have some fun, so take a run. You know, it was just a simple song and the people them jumped to it and, you know, going around. Whoa, 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 we're independent, and, you know, flash them hand, and it was great. That was something to see and never can come back in Jamaica.
We're independent.
Independence came at a time when ska wasn't in speak.
Yes.
And so it was just jubilation all around.
You understand?
You know, with the acceptance that we were now a free country and ska in its peak, and everyone just went crazy for it.
You couldn't go to a party before 62 we play ska. After that night, you had to play ska for the party to be successful. It was unbelievable. Everyone gravitated to it. This was something new, and I noticed something too. They had pride. When they looked at it, they said, "This is ours."
It would have been nice to say, well, independence caused people to want their own music, but the music preceded independence. But it was a wonderful coincidence because independence gave it further drive. The music came first.
The story of modern Jamaican music starts in the early 1950s in the poorer areas of downtown Kingston with the emergence of a uniquely Jamaican phenomenon, still at the heart of the music 50 years later, the sound system. The sound system is essentially a street discotheque with speakers big enough to raise a family in. It's where poor Jamaicans have been coming to dance till they drop ever since they stopped listening to jazz bands in the now ruined clubs all over the island.
You had sound system before recording. You have the Jamaica music started off with orchestra dance. But when the sound system came in, they replaced the musician because people used to hire these bands to play, but the musician used to stop and eat a lot of corrigo, so it burned up a lot of time until, you know.
The band would go in intermission, and intermission forever. So the people got to get fed up of this no dance with another dance. So in the intermission, they made a mistake. They agreed that the first sound system should play in the intermission. That was the end of them. I never turned back. It was all about rhythm and blues.
As the 1950s rolled on, the music of Fats Domino, Ray Charles and Louis Jordan was streaming into the island from Southern American radio stations just over 90 miles away. And with the sound systems blasting it out most nights of the week, downtown Kingston went dance crazy. And like any craze, it was rich with opportunity.
People used to make money from it. You sell your own beer and you sell your own curry goat and rice, and you got the sounding system from 8 o'clock till like 6 in the morning, and they eating and dancing in the street. You get like 2,000-3,000 people, and you make a buck.
Sound systems became the biggest local industry in downtown Kingston, and competition was fierce. To pull in the punters, you had to have the best music blasting out of your system. The race was on for the hottest American tunes.
It's Ricky sensation. You know, American people, they need cheap labor, so they bring it, cut them cane and things. But while you're there cutting cane, if you buy rhythm and blues, 6 times more money you get because you're going to sell it back to sound system people. So everybody anxious to go to the farmer, but not for cut cane. They want to go buy some record, you know?
Out of this fierce competition, 2 giants emerged, Clement Coxon Dodd and Arthur Duke Reid. Combining their liquor businesses with their sound system dances, they were effectively the barons of downtown Kingston and would continue to control the Jamaican music business for the next 15 years.
They could run the country those days because people, anywhere the sound string up, you have the crowd of people there before. They used to play in competition. It come in now like Joe Fraser and Holly.
Duke Reid is the man who go on this dance and him go to the gate and him get everybody out of the gate money for coming on and dance, you know? And the people they believe all the Coxon dance and come on the Duke Reid. Sometimes them just take the money and go to the Coxon dance just the same, you know what I mean? So it's like that. So all of them used to be at war, you know? The sound system thing, man. It's a traditional thing. You can't stop it. It come from way back, you know? Come on.
Yes, suddenly rum is served to sophisticates because suddenly Jamaican rum has regained its place among the great drinks of the world.
Duke Reid had a rum there where it don't sell in the stores. If you think rum is strong, you ask about rude to your parents. When you throw water, you know what happened in it? Yes. Throw chase in it, what do you think happened? Smoke. Little smoke, vapors thing, right? And that is what the brother might drink. Like they have cocaine now, that was for them cocaine. So after Duke Reid, give them 2 drinks of root to your parents and send them go to Coxon dance. The dance done. People are jump fence to get out the fast.
Duke Reid, he had a program on the radio, I think 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon called Treasure Isle Time. They would advertise the liquor business, and then he would, on those programs, they would play newly made Jamaican records.
To drink some more, but when I look at the clock, it was 3:45.
To promote their sound systems, Reid and his competitors had turned to record producing by the end of the 50s, but not as we know it today. They had no intention of selling records to anyone else. They brought jazz musicians down from the tourist hotels to play Jamaican versions of American R&B, and then they just made 1 copy of each record to play on their sound system and achieve the much prized exclusive.
We start imitating the rhythm and blues songs like say Smiley Lewis or Professor Longyear or Louis Jordan, and those kind of beats. We tried to imitate it. It didn't turn out that way, so we decided to keep this as our own type. That's how that can come in.
Styling like those was really rhythm and blues. What we did to this rhythm and blues is like you'd be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But this kind we change it to 1, 2, 3. And then it's more 2, 4, 2, 4 instead of 1.
Last night, Papa coming down, he stood across the door. Mama said, no, Papa, you're real gone down. Easy slopping. Easy slopping. Easy slopping. But baby, why you jumped and shot?
This is Jamaica's first musical revolution. And we call it ska. And then ska was a dirty word. But what it was terribly influenced by Jamaican activities of the people, you know. Culture of Jamaica was pushed into it. And when the people took it on that fast, right, they just grabbed to it because it was them.
This is the way of life of the lower class people. We haven't got anything else. What else we have? I mean, the middle class or the upper class can buy a ticket and go to Miami or somewhere like that. That's all you have. You don't know anything else.
You would not find the creative force that comes out of the inner city in the residential areas in Jamaica, because they're more settled into a pattern, into a tradition. There's a social divide and a cultural divide. We live in two countries. When ska was popular downtown, it had no popularity uptown.
In 1960, much of uptown Jamaica still preferred American music, and many of the jazz musicians who had invented ska were making a living playing the tourist resorts of the North Coast.
I used to have a serious type of class prejudice in those days, let's call it that way. You know, and it would have hurt my career in a certain sense. You couldn't go uptown and play ska music, so it was really like an outlaw type of music, you know.
In 1960, Prince Buster started his own sound system. To steal a march on his rivals, he approached the ultimate outcasts of Jamaican society, the Rastafarians, who since the 30s had looked to Africa rather than Europe as a model. He persuaded Count Ozzy and his master drummers down from the Warwicker Hills into a recording studio.
In those days, if you say it's a Rasta, all they have is black for you know. And when I make Carolina, that the Rasta, whole Rasta speak. Because now, them, it was not the music world, them could play upon sound system. And if you play upon sound system on the island, everybody go and hear you.
In the early years in Jamaica, the Rastafarian community went under so much pressure, you know. At one stage, I think there was a decree in Jamaica.
To kill the Rasta man.
To kill the Rasta man and question him after, you know. Countazi,
you know.
You know, 90% of all the grassroots music was really played or created by the Rasta people, you know.
Rasta and Jamaican music have been inseparable ever since. Even at the independence celebrations, Count Ozzy and his troupe were part of the pageant laid on for Princess Margaret, whose reaction remains unrecorded.
We brought with us most of the music of Africa, the rhythm, the kumina as a form of dancing, the Nyabingi drumming by our Rastafarians. To that has been fused some of the jazz influences emanating from our sisters and brothers in New Orleans. Culture has been a very strong element in all our art forms, but particularly in our forms of musical expression.
I'm Lord of Lords in this land. No more back talk from any of you, 'cause I'm king from the beginning. I was made king. Lion says I am king and I reign.
What it developed from was calypso.
Lion says I am king and I reign.
Well, calypso singers sang about, well, lots of them used to sing about sex, but they also sing about topical things like that, so it's coming out of that. You want to know what's going on, I mean, you know, you listen to the songs. It is a kind of folk music.
Our country contested at the Lyceum the title Miss World. They numbered 40.
I'm calling you
myself.
The emerging nation was full of optimism, and with prosperity increasing, everybody wanted to own the ska records that up until now they only had heard on the sound systems.
People started buying Jamaican records. Jamaican records was accepted as the record to buy, because you're hearing yourself, you're hearing things to do with you.
All I want to know.
Eager to capitalize on this new market, the sound system operators reinvented themselves as record companies. Prince Buster's Voice of the People, Duke Reid's Treasure Isle, and initially the top label Coxsone, run by the taciturn Clement Dodd. He was the first to realize that you could make a living beyond the sound system. With his profits, he set up the legendary Studio One, the first recording studio in Jamaica to be owned by a black man.
Studio One was a permanent place that people recorded almost every day. We were always free to go there and record whenever we feel like. And these are the kind of facilities that you got that made it a special place, you know, because it's like home, musically.
Is that the first time I've been to your home? What is the first time?
Studio One is like Jamaica's Motown. That's where all the great artists, you know, we say they graduate at this place, Studio One. It was like a 9 to 5 job. We went there early morning and we would record all day.
When I went in there at 7, I used to live at Mr. Dad's house with his children. Yeah. So every morning, I'd go to the studio with him and open the studio. He would pick up an assistant. His name is Bim Bim.
Yeah, Bim Bim.
Pick up Bim Bim first. We'll go to the studio, we'll open the studio, make his rounds. Every day we'll close the studio every night, drop Bim Bim home. It's like heaven.
Just like in the old days of the sound system, Coxsone constantly needed new sounds to stay ahead. Every Sunday morning, young hopefuls gathered in his yard, hawking their songs and looking for a shot at the big time.
The longest liver will see the moon.
Listen to all them guys go up and sing, you know, and every time, but you know, we would sing around the side, you know, and they would say, you're so good in it, and every time them say, your turn, man. So no, make them go on, make them go on.
When I saw Coxsone himself did an audition, right? Or some auditions too, before I started that. And he would tell artists that he figured weren't ready or didn't want them back. He said, okay, come back 7 years' time, you know?
It was 6 o'clock in the evening. I was the last person to go up. You know, the place was still packed. And, you know, my first song, you got to be sure of a woman's love. And everybody crowd around, man. Everybody say, you the voice, yeah. You the voice. Everyone crowd around, you know, and Mr. Dad say, nice. And the Tuesday, I went on to my first 2 songs.
Another group of youngsters signed by Coxsone were the Wailers, Bunny Wailer, Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. In 1964, within a year of Studio One's opening, they sold an astonishing 70,000 copies of Simmer Down.
Trenchtown. It was vibrant with a lot of activities. The place was like a, what do you call it, like a Piccadilly, like Hollywood. Music as being the center of attraction.
Everybody was singing like a family. So if the Soulettes have a recording, you'd have Bob, Peter Bunny, Delroy, you know, guys from the Paragons, everybody would come to give background support. If the Wailers have a session sometime, you would have the Ask Us girls, come work with us tonight. We have 2 children listening, look at all the harmony. So that was like fun. We weren't being paid because Coxsone, we didn't get money that time. Sometimes we get money to buy us a patty or cocoa bread, and if we're going on Fridays, we would get a pound or 30 shilling or something like that. But we didn't have a problem.
it was a very productive period in Jamaica's musical history. Hit after hit, you know, every month there would be a new hit for different singers. And it was as if all the singers and the talent in popular music had been kept locked up in a cupboard. But from the first hit was made, it is as if the cupboard doors opened and all this talent just poured out.
Studio One's music was made downtown for downtown people. The musicianship necessary wasn't that easy to achieve if you were poor in Kingston, but luckily there was also a downtown academy. If Studio One was Motown, the Alpha Boys School was the Juilliard School of Music.
Alpha Boys School is a school that caters to the unfortunate. It teaches them trades that they can earn a living after they leave here, and some go abroad. I think you met Rico Rodriguez, he's a trombonist.
My mother couldn't handle me no more, and that's the way I end up in Alpha. Maybe she feel I'm more protected up there. The young man, him grow very quick, you know what I mean? Him become very wise very quickly. You understand? Because life, tough life, you know. Life hard.
Okay.
And out of poverty bringeth wisdom, you understand?
Well, the reason why I'm here was because my parents abandoned me. But I thank God for that in some reason. Allah said, I must honor thy mother and father, but I still love her. And in the future, I'd like to find her. So at Alpha is good. I learn music and I also learn education.
Many of Jamaica's greatest musicians have been from Alpha. Coxon in particular was quick to appreciate the value of the kind of discipline and ability you might expect from that institution. The backbone of his house band were largely Alpha old boys, and they became the first superstars of ska, the Scatterlights.
Oh yes, the Scatterlights. That was Johnny Moore. He is touring France now. And Lester Sterling, he's in America. Tommy McCook was very good at that. He was a saxophonist. You had Dom Drummond. He was very quiet. He loved his instrument. And when he was still in school, he was about the best trombonist in Jamaica.
Scatterlights were a great set of people. At the time, they were the masters. They were learned musicians. They were not just people who played music by the breath. They were doing it by the paper. And we, the Wailers, were really enthused to have been working with the Scatterlights.
There came on the scene this talented aggregation, the most formidable array of talent which Jamaica has ever seen in a single band, and dare I say is ever likely to see in the future.
They were it. Anywhere they played. For dances, the place would be Ram Jam.
We play at a place one night and say the place loaded with people and a woman come and dance the ska. And I'm watching that woman dance and we see she kick back. And when we finish playing go out, I hear the woman died. They take her out, she scares her till she dropped down and dead. Serious thing, man.
What's the ska killer?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Ska the light carry a heartbeat. Yeah. Yeah, man.
The 2 years after independence, with the Scatterlights at their peak, was the golden age of Jamaican ska. But the foundations of the band were shaky. They became frustrated with the insularity of the Jamaican music scene, and more significantly, Don Drummond, the band's greatest genius, was slowly losing his mind. Drummond's virtuoso trombone playing lay at the heart of the Scatterlights' greatest moments.
A lot of his compositions were minor chord tunes, smooth, more melodic kind of flow, while Rico would be more brassy and more like orchestrated, like, you know, to the beat. Don slides with it.
Drummond took ska to new heights of virtuosity. He had a unique style with a disturbing emotional undertow that reeked of Africa and mirrored the demons in his head.
He got in friendship with this lady, and he didn't like her dancing, and so that brought a sort of a bone of contention between them.
Jealousy and the lack of material and career advancement built up disastrously in the mind of the introspective Drummond. And on New Year's Eve 1964, he killed his girlfriend Margarita.
I used to say to myself, I wonder if he's really guilty of doing that act. But they found him guilty, and then they placed him in the madhouse, Bellevue that is. And after a while, he had some altercation with somebody there, or with people there, or some fuss, and he died. I was sorry to hear, because he was such a great musician, very, very great, regardless of how mad he was.
Without Don Drummond, the Scatterlights were never quite the same again. And anyway, musicians couldn't make that much money in Jamaica. To make a living, many of the most talented musicians joined the thousands of other Jamaicans on the boat to England.
I just want to change from Jamaica for me. I play music long time and I not really play with no band or nothing, you know. So coming to England, try out my luck.
Some broth without any bread.
To the newly arrived Jamaican, London nightlife was a strange and often unnerving experience.
When you go there, you know what they was playing. Bottoms up and the choo-choo-choo and all these kind of things. Knees up. Are you coming from Jamaica where you used to? So we couldn't take it. And the jazz club, well, it's never on. Every club you go in London is, sorry, you got to be a member. Won't let you in. Once you're black, you can't get in. You know what I mean? You couldn't get into Ronnie Scott. You couldn't get into Lions Corner House, the big jazz club. So then I said to Vinny, look, you build a sound, we will support you and get the record like Jamaica from America. And this is how it starts.
my parents were only here 5 or 6, 7 years until 1965. So it was almost like a letter from home, hearing rhythm tracks from Jamaica. Shebeens and blues dances weren't just exclusively for people.
It started off exclusive. It started off.
But they were in certain areas.
Come as well. I mean, you worked on the buses, right? And you were the conductor and the driver's white. And then you can't help but being together all day long, right? And you talk about what you do for recreation, and then you say to the driver, look, we're having a party over so and so and so and so. And he comes around and thinks, oh, that's nice, isn't it? And he tells another few of his mates of it.
Little Miss Muffet, she sat on a tuffet, eating her curls and whey. Came a big spider, sat down beside her. He frightened Miss Muffet away. Watch out! Whoa! 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 Play tomahawk now.
We used to go down to number 9 Blenheim Crescent, where was a little cafe with a little jukebox, and you get some food. And I always remember Carolina was on the jukebox, and in back there was a kitchen with a chef, and you can get meat and rice. That must have been 1961.
Up on the hill, fetched him a pail of water. Jackie fell down and the bus him home.
Sister Ignatius from Alpha gave me the money to come to England. I was like our #1 boy, like best boy then, you know what I mean? And she used to look after me in school very good.
He took the trumpet. He was very helpful because I used to send him to my brother's store and so on. He used to do shopping for me.
It was this great cultural mix. And at the same time, Buster came over from Jamaica, and we had access to West Indian records.
Greatly opened areas, because the British market, I mean, British record releases was pretty limited at that time. You know, we were hearing cover versions. You had to hear the original.
Yeah, we had access to the real thing. You felt like you were at the start of something there.
By 1962, the scene was big enough to move from West London to the West End. Soon, Count Suckle's The Roaring Twenties in Carnaby Street became one of the hippest venues in town.
It was a late-night dive. Maltese, prostitutes, striptease girls, the whole of the West End. Everybody, white, musician, because they come down. The Rolling Stones, there was Scruffy, all of the Stones. Because they used to play round the corner at a club called The Scene in Windmill Street, downstairs. A girl named Sandra used to run it. People was like coming at 5 in the morning, 6. And that's when I met Christine Keeler, Mandy Wright Davis, and Perfumer. I mean, I didn't know he was a minister at the time, but he just come down with the girls. Well, we used to say he was a sugar daddy.
I remember the Roaring Twenties maybe sometimes it's 20 of us, you know, 20, 15, you know. And going home was a problem to her. We couldn't get no taxi to go home, sometimes we have to walk, you know. And sometimes along the way you get thirsty, you know. So you drink all the milk and the orange juice inside, you know. Yeah. So you have a lot of fun, you know. And you're so tired coming from the dance, you know, the snow, you know. So it was an experience in the 60s when I just come here, you know.
You know, I wonder when I come the first time in England, I remember. First I leave Jamaica, right? When I come over London, I look through the plane. And I wonder if people live here. In your storybooks, I read so much about 3 Little Pigs and the Wolf. And you see, the trouble is they draw the house in the book. Then when I come in, you know, all the house that look like pure that house. we high in the air, and you look down. It's pure that kind of house. I say, oh here. And I look for the wolf over there.
And wash all my troubles away. Like that lucky old sun, give me nothing to do but roll around heaven all day.
Ska in Britain was distributed on the Blue Beat label, which was how it became known. Blue Beat was the music of choice for the mods, the scooter-riding youths who flocked to the concerts and made Britain a hugely important market for the music.
They saw me as a rebel and identified themselves as such. So there was some compatibility there. I think so, because you should see them when I make my show. It's just come like me and them as one. And then protect me right through the tour.
Like that lucky old sun, give me nothing to do.
By 1964, Jamaican record entrepreneur Chris Blackwell was convinced he could get a UK hit with a ska record. He had the right singer in Millie Small, so he brought over Ernest Ranglin to London to provide the spark.
In my house, it was more on the blues spot. You was listening to a couple of blue beat tunes and stuff like that, you know. And then the biggest breakthrough was when, you know, Millie Smalls came out with My Boy Lollipop, and I think that changed everybody.
We started to get hits in England because that's where it became an international music, especially with My Boy Lollipop by Millie Small. That put us on the map. So the uptown people started to take note to make it a national sound rather than downtown sound.
Yes, this is ska, original and indigenous. These instruments are playing a monotonic grassroots rhythm.
As uptown Jamaica and the rest of the world joyously accepted ska, downtown the music and the mood were changing.
The ska was upbeat. It expressed how the spirit of the people was. And then after, people start to observe and say, oh, this independence, I'm not really independent. What's going on? The music slowed down. Let's rock it steady and see what's going on. Slow down. Poverty breeds crime. You wake up in the morning and you don't know where the next meal is coming from. You know, all kind of things start going through your mind.
For if he's rough, he's against the world. He's against the world.
By 1966, downtown Kingston was a lawless place. This was the era of the so-called rude boys, the ruthless gangsters who terrorized the nation.
And the rude boys are coming a dance, man. No care you dress in a three-piece suit. Them guys that change things, them just come in our shorts and no shirt and hard turn up back way, and the girls flock them and them just do so. That's how the rap said the name did come in, you know. And the DJ have to play when you reach it, say, Cry Tough with Alton Ellis, and anything you can do, I can do it better. I am the toughest. And them throw a box of beer in the air and it mash.
This guy come to me and said, his name Busby, he was a rude boy. When I say rude, I mean rude, because he would travel with gun and he travel with knife, and he would take any buckle and cut you, anything. Come to me one day and say, boy, I hear everybody has sing rude boy, Cry Tough and 07 and them guys. I want you to make one of me. You just want to boost me, and I want it by Friday.
And so I said, okay, I'll make you a song, sir.
Strong like lion, we are iron, rude don't fear.
Busby listen, and say, play it back. And so when we reach strong like lion, we are and just take out two of the beer and throw it against the wall and crash it and say, iron. Everybody get in panic now, you know, because they're afraid of him, because they know him, what he can do from what he won't do. The whole night is the one song, it coming like the dance stop.
Rude don't fear.
I don't know if he didn't like the song, what he would do. But anyhow, he did love it.
Boys, rude don't fear. Rougher than rough, tougher than tough.
But he didn't love it for long. He didn't love the song for long because he lose his life the following day. And we just cut out the rude boy songs and say, well, if it going to cause eruption, just leave it there.
All I need from you is a good conversation.
As things hotted up downtown, people sang, and most of them escaped into old-fashioned boy-meets-girl love songs. This was rocksteady, Jamaica's first pop music, the era of singers who replaced the largely instrumental ska, and for many it was the most glorious phase in Jamaican music.
Never felt this way before. I know there is some way today.
It all came from the American R&B music, you know, because we're always being influenced by the impressions, all them soul R&B groups.
Love your sister, love your brothers.
We would listen to a Dionne Warwick song and try to sing it exactly as Dionne did it. If you are a group, you would try to study the Supremes, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. If there was a group who comes from abroad to our shores, we would want to go and see them because they have something to teach us.
It's a cultural thing for Jamaicans to sing. In the ghetto, you'll find more singers than anywhere else too, because you know it's a thing that, you know, it's a thing we used to, it's what we could use to pass the time away. It's a thing you use to soothe your spirit, your soul, you know.
Can't compare with. I've been touched by an angel. This heaven and earth could be no hell. I've been touched by an angel. She's on the progressive chart, always work for where she want. With enough confidence and never yet says she can't. Tender loving where she have. Healing the broken heart from she coming on my life. Me no stop advance, rearrange my lonely life and turn it right from start. Now I'm happy with this woman and we will never part. Me know she clever and she smart. I've been touched by an angel.
Most of us, we only wanted to hear our voices on the record. To see people, to hear it on the radio, is a dream come true. To see people dancing and singing to your record for the first time is another matter completely.
There was no thought of any money or anything else more than honesty, sincerity, and purity. And that is what I think that music is full of. That, you know, that is why it's lasting so long.
The songs lived. You'll have a song, man, 1 year straight. It's selling for 1 year, not a little thing like some tune come and just sell for 1 month and done. Them tune they sell and never ever die. People still buying them. My biggest sales in this store is what is? And I have everything up to date, and I'm up to date.
Rocksteady saw a power shift in the music industry. It was still dominated by the former sound system bosses, but Coxsone and Studio One would never be quite the same force again. Many of the artists, like the Paragons, Alton Ellis, and the Melodians, promptly signed up with his old rival Duke Reid, who still ran his own sound system and realised the potential of the more easily danceable Rocksteady beat.
When the first song came out, like Alton Ellis sing a song called Girl I've Got Today. Doom, 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 boom, boom. doom, 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 doom. And when Duke Reed put on that song, I was there. They had to play the song about 1,000 times. And you can see this guy was very fast. He had to spin, he had to dance, he had to dance in a fast pace. So what we did was, at the time, most of them had the same bass line because the bass man didn't have enough time to emphasize on his bass line. So what we did was cut it down a little so the bass man could more move his fingers and have a line. So that's how you come to have these reggae lines. Do 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 doom doom. Do 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 doom doom. You know, you give him more time to do that. In the sky you couldn't do that.
Reed's Trojan sound system had been notorious for the vicious fights that often accompanied his dances. Experiences which made the ex-policeman the ideal man to set up his Treasure Isle studio amongst the rude boys of downtown Kingston.
He was a no-nonsense man. He never harbor any foolishness. Police used to go and come. If you're a rude boy, you have to leave your rude boy business outside, right? Then Joe could have seen you. As I say, he was a no-nonsense man.
And this is the studio over there. On top was the studio. You know, his engineer was a man called Smithy. One of the best in Jamaica. Mr. Smithy, his engineer. Now down here was his liquor store. You'd have a lot of boxes parked on the roads with liquor and drinks and all those, and nobody take anything. Well, you see, Duke, he's respected around the area, and he's well armed. He got at least 3 guns on him. One long one on his hip, and one on his feet. That's Duke, the first gunman in Western Kingston.
If Duke even not in the studio, him have a box downstairs in him liquor store. And when everybody upstairs dancing, so boy, this gone. And out of nowhere, boom, boom, boom. And that Duke fire shot and the whole studio get quiet.
Then you see the big man, he will run up the stairs. Say to Tom McCook and all those people, what are you playing? I don't want that. I want this, I want that. You know, everybody just shut up and listen to what he said.
Then you had a on man, he's dead now, named Marquis. So listen, and Duke, say play it back, Smithy, and quiet, and Marcus put out him head like this and say, yes, the boss was right. The tune need a 17 there, sir.
Rocksteady lasted 18 glorious months, but finally there was no escaping Jamaica's worsening conditions. Bass lines became heavier and the subject matter more socially concerned.
Them a loot, them a shoot, them a wheel. That will give me money.
And we go into reggae now. And how we get to reggae now? Reggae is a different changing of the drum. We have the drum playing more burro-like. Oh, I don't know if you understand, like tap ta da pa da pa pa da pa da pa pa da, and change the bass pattern.
If the music even slow, it make it sound like it fast. So that is what the reggae do to the rocksteady. And that was it. Reggae, 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 reggae.
Reggae was everywhere. Dozens of studios sprang up and sheer volumes saturated the market. Producers needed a new outlet for the music.
A guy was working with Island at the time named Dave Bettridge come out here and meet me, and they invite me over to England in '68, and I see what the people love. England is the gateway to real reggae music.
The English market became essential to Jamaican producers with its large and by now settled Caribbean community.
When I went to London, Bob Andy and myself, that was when I first learned that Feel Like Jumping was also a big song in England. We were just in Jamaica not knowing what was happening.
What was happening was that by the late 60s, companies like Trojan Records had spotted the large underground following that had developed for this new reggae pop music.
White kids that were hanging out with the black kids from the same areas grew up on the music, you know, we were all hearing it. And
it was just a fashion, the youth culture of the day.
Yeah, well, that was it.
Where
we only had the youth clubs. You know what I mean? Nobody was old enough to go to nightclubs anyway.
That's it.
Trojan Records came to enjoy iconic status as the purveyors of Jamaican music in the UK. They released 2,000 singles in 7 years, initially on a fairly small scale, through specialised shops catering to Jamaicans and to white working-class youths who revelled in its danceable beat and outlaw status, the Skinheads.
You get kicked out of Saturday morning pictures when you're too old for it. You've got nowhere to go for yourself, so somebody said, oh, let's go up to Streatham Locarno. And we're talking about the 60s, sort of the Skinhead period, really. And so I used to go to Streatham Locarno and listen to music, and we didn't really dance. People did dance, but me and my friends, we used to just sort of hang back and just watch, you know, because it was all the Skinhead thing, you see. And because they never played that music on the radio, so in some ways for us, it became our music.
The Skinheads at the time were really into reggae. I mean, they are branded now as what you call a neo-Nazi group that don't like black people and Jews. In my time, I was being protected by the Skinheads. Look, I've been to a town that was like Guildford, was a racist town in my time. And this guy said to me, hi, Mr. Black. So I said, hi, Mr. White, and he spit in my face. I said, what the heck? So the kids wanted us to beat him, but I said, no, forget it, man. I just wiped the spit off, and that was it.
What was happening, it couldn't be denied that this was developing into something that was becoming more and more commercially interesting, commercially successful. As more and more people discovered the music through the clubs. And that was making for all sorts of problems for us because we just couldn't get past this door.
Look out, BBC, 'cause I'm on my way. Oh yes I am. Long walk to the BBC, but I know I'll make it someday.
I think there was a perception amongst the reggae labels that the BBC dismissed reggae to a certain extent. To be fair, I think possibly, yes, I think they might have a slight case there.
Bob Marley and the Wailers failed their BBC audition because in the view of the panel, they didn't know how to play reggae. Which was, but then you get some kind of, you know, the BBC Dance Orchestra doing a strict tempo version of reggae. People would say, oh, that's how reggae should be.
If our music had an open door, like, let's say, a freeway, we could break wide in any part of the world because we have class music like anybody else.
Be young, gifted or black, open your heart to what I mean. In the whole world, you know, there's a million.
We just did that song because we were teenagers wearing afros and, you know, trying to be too conscious black people, and we said, this is a good cover song for us to do.
Trojan were determined to break reggae to the mass market and pulled out all the stops for their new releases.
When they introduced strings on the British versions of the songs, I think it made quite a difference because they made them more into not so much the raw sound that would probably be acceptable elsewhere, but it made it more into a pop record and then went to a much bigger market.
Reggae became part of pop mainstream. Skinheads, the BBC, school dances, suddenly everyone was playing reggae.
Sounds of soul. I am W.O.O. and I'm still here again.
Dave and Ansel Collins went to #1, as did Desmond Dekker. Jimmy Cliff, the Scatterlights, Prince Buster and Ken Booth all stormed the charts. and everyone loved it when Max Romeo turned out to be a new kind of rude boy.
Of course, there was the wonderful Max Romeo Wet Dream thing, which was just such a great pop record. Obviously the lyrics, you can see why they had a problem with that lie down girl, let me push it up, push it up.
Lie down, girl, let me push it up, lie down. I try to explain, I said, look man, it have nothing to do with sex. I'm talking about my house leaking here. Me and my lady sleeping in bed, rain falling, the roof is bloody leaking. She's getting up to plug the leak, and I'm saying, lie down, girl, I'll push it up. They didn't buy that.
The last couple of years of the 60s were a reggae explosion, and by 1969, Desmond Dekker was filling Wembley like visiting royalty.
That reggae pop music, I suppose, we were beneficiaries of it as well. The doors had been opened and people have been softened up enough to start listening.
The music of downtown Kingston had not only conquered Jamaica, but made it to the heart of the old colonial masters, and there was still a great deal further to go.
Oh, we gotta do all things. Everybody got to rock. I gotta do your thing. Oh, yeah. You got to do your thing. Hey, you got to do your thing. Now you got to do your thing. I do your thing. We've got to, I've got to say, bye-bye. I'm going, hallelujah, I've got to.
Part 2 next Sunday at 8 on BBC Two, and there's a new reggae website from BBCI. You can find everything from ska to UK garage and a guide to the Jamaican fashions and dances at bbc.co.uk/reggae. And the vibe